Imagine waking up to find that your country's exports are suddenly slapped with a massive, crippling tariff. That's exactly what happened to Switzerland this Thursday, as a 39% import levy on its goods came into effect, courtesy of U.S. President Donald Trump. But here's where it gets controversial. This tariff is among the highest ever imposed by Trump's administration, and it's got Switzerland scrambling to save its export-focused economy. The Swiss government was forced to convene an emergency meeting, and the atmosphere is tense. Let's dive into the details and see how this all unfolded. The Swiss government, in a flurry of diplomatic activity, had sent a delegation to the U.S. in a last-ditch effort to negotiate a better deal. But alas, their trip ended in disappointment. Swiss President Karin Keller-Sutter returned from Washington empty-handed, having failed to secure a meeting with Trump or any of his top trade officials. And this is the part most people miss. While she did have a very good meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, it wasn't enough to sway the U.S. officials, who rejected her proposal for a 10% tariff rate. So what does this mean for Switzerland? Well, it's not looking good. The 39% tariff is a massive blow, especially when you compare it to the rates negotiated by other countries like the European Union, Britain, Japan, and South Korea. The Swiss are stunned, and rightly so. Manfred Elsif, director of research at the University of Bern's World Trade Institute, called the tariff insanely high and criticized Trump's short-sighted actions. But why is Trump doing this? Well, it's all about that trade surplus. Switzerland has a significant trade surplus with the U.S., largely due to exports of pharmaceuticals, gold, machinery, and watches. And Trump, in his quest to reduce trade deficits, is pulling out all the stops. But is this the right move? Will it really benefit the U.S. in the long run? Or is it just a case of cutting off your nose to spite your face? The Swiss government is still hopeful that a deal can be done, but it's going to be an uphill battle. In the meantime, industry associations and economists are warning of major damage to the economy, job losses, and curtailed economic growth. Hans Gersbach, an economist at KOF Swiss Economic Institute, estimates that the levies could result in a GDP loss of 0.3% to 0.6% between August 2025 and August 2026. We will not enter a recession, but we are moving towards stagnation, he said. And it's not just the economy that's at stake. The U.S. is a leading market for Swiss watches, specialized machinery, pharmaceuticals, chocolate, and cheese. If this tariff burden remains in place, it could spell disaster for these industries. Swiss Mem. An industry association warned that it could mean the de facto death of the export business of the Swiss tech industry to the USA. So, what's next for Switzerland? Well, the private sector is urging the government to continue talks aimed at reducing the tariffs. But will it be enough? Only time will tell. In the meantime, the Swiss franc has strengthened against the dollar, and the stock market is holding steady. But for how long? Markets are good at pricing in tariff impacts, but there's always a limit, and this limit could be reached sooner rather than later. So, what do you think? Is Trump's tariff a necessary evil or a misguided attempt to right wrongs? Will it benefit the U.S. in the long run, or will it backfire? And how will Switzerland fare in this trade war? The comments are open, so let's hear your thoughts. Agree or disagree? We want to know. But remember, keep it respectful and on topic. Let's have a healthy, productive discussion. After all, that's what makes the world go round, right?